Bruce, your specialty was defense, five-time all-defensive player. So let's go through the great defensive play from the other night and figure out where it belongs on the list of the greatest defensive plays and the best defensive plays. Now, this list matches the two of them together. These are our 5 big defensive plays in postseason history, a combination of the greatest and the best. At number 5, who can forget Tayshaun Prince and his legendary chase-down block on Reggie Miller? This was the end of Game 2 of the 2004 Eastern Conference Finals. Take a look. Here comes Tayshaun. Oh, and he gets there. And he gets bonus points, I think, for just how far he swats this ball. Tayshaun Prince. Sometimes this play gets forgotten because of the people involved. It should not be. That is at number 5. Number 4 is a little more recent vintage. Bam Adebayo and Jason Tatum closing seconds, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals of a year ago. Here we go. Show me Bam Adebayo stepping up and just putting a barrier between Jason Tatum and the rim. That is just spectacular power with the left hand from Bam Adebayo. So again, a combination of the best plays and the greatest plays. Havlicek stole the ball may not be one of the best plays of all time in terms of degree of difficulty, but in terms of importance. This is Game 7 of the Eastern Division Final, as it was then known. It's Havlicek making the steal to preserve a 1-point win for the Celtics over their arch rival Wilt Chamberlain and the 76ers. This Havlicek stole the ball, maybe basketball's most famous call and one of its most famous plays. Number 2, speaking of famous plays, perhaps you've seen this one before. This is Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals, and this is LeBron James with the play for the ages on Andre Iguodala. LeBron with a full head of steam, flying through the air with the greatest of ease and swatting that, preserving Cleveland's first championship in the history of their franchise. That's the greatest play, but it is not the best. I would make an argument that in terms of degree of difficulty, what Giannis Antetokounmpo did the other night belongs at number 1 because he defended both the alley and the oop. He cuts off Devin Booker before spinning, jumping off one leg, and with one arm blocking that shot 11 feet off the ground cleanly. Your average good defender gets there just in time to foul Ayton. For Antetokounmpo to make a clean block, as he combined, it's obviously not as significant as the LeBron block or Havlicek stealing the ball because of the circumstances in which they came. But in terms of degree of difficulty, Bruce Bowen, I will give it to you because no one knows defense better than you do. I would say that might be the most spectacular defensive play I can ever remember seeing. Bruce, what do you think?
I agree with you there, Greeny. The fact that he's guarding the pick and roll and showing on Devin Booker and still has the frame of mind to go and find the ball. See, it was more about him relying on his talent more than anything else. And everyone's not blessed with the same talent, Greeny. This play is a play that will go down in Bucks history as far as you talk about somebody winning it on a defensive play. This is it. We all know that offense wins games, but defense, Greeny, I'll say it again, defense wins championships, baby, and it starts right there.
Bruce would know. He's got 3 rings to prove it. Zach Lowe, what do you think? You've had a day to sleep on it, and no one loves the historical piece of this the way you do. What do you think of this particular play's place in the history of the game?
First of all, amen, Bruce Bowen. I heard all year about offense rules the NBA, defense isn't relevant anymore. And here we are, 2 of the best defensive teams in the league slugging it out in the finals. Second of all, Bird stealing the ball from Isaiah might be as good of a Celtic steal as the Havlicek steal. That's an aside. Third, I might be biased. I was in the building. I remember what it felt like. I remember how Game 7 in Golden State just went 4 straight minutes. Nobody could score. Everybody was exhausted. Everybody just wanted the season to be over. No one could do anything anymore. And that block, to see it coming like a freight train in the open floor in that moment, in that game, against a 73-win team who had a 3-1 lead and was at home, that one still feels bigger, greater, better, whatever you want, whatever word you want to use. It's just hard to top that one for me. The Giannis play is unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and I get everything you're saying.
I can't get there. I'm sorry, I can't get there.
Look what you've
I
done,
love
Zach.
your
You've upset
ability,
Bruce.
But
Go ahead, Bruce.
the fact that LeBron was chasing that down, that's where it is. Giannis did this in a pick and roll, Zach. Come on. How much reaction time do you have on this particular play to go and make the block, Zach? Here it is. LeBron's chasing down.
I get it.
No, you don't get it if you're saying that, man. You are hurting my feelings, Zach. Don't hurt my feelings.
Everyone just yells at me on this show. I come on and everyone yells at me.
Well, you know, you sort of have that quality about you. Here's the thing I would say. That play is spectacular because of the circumstances, the LeBron play, because of who did it and the circumstances in which he did it. But I would argue that there are a lot of people who could have made that play. I can't think of anybody in history off the top of my head that could have done what Giannis Antetokounmpo did the other night. Again, we're not having the same conversation. Is there another player, Zach, that comes to mind that you can think of who has the combination of size and athleticism to make the play Giannis made the other night?
Yeah, I think there are maybe a couple in the NBA who have a chance. Like, I've seen Joel Embiid make plays similar to that, where he's guarding both guys at once, and before you know it, he's at the rim. I think Anthony Davis maybe has a chance. Those are the only two guys. I agree with you. This is Giannis's height, wingspan, athleticism, speed, instincts, all come together in one play. Look, this is like choosing between two delicious slices of cake. We're all right. Let's just eat the cake instead of fighting about it.
No. If it's a homemade red velvet from one of the ladies on a mother's board, then you go with that red velvet. You don't do that store-bought red velvet, baby. So, Zach, I get what you're saying, man. And we are making apples where it shouldn't be that big. But Zach, you got to give that respect to what Giannis did. And for you to say Joel Embiid? Come on, Zach. We saw what happened with them in the playoffs.
Go look
You're going to mention Joel?
Well, that's a different
I have to leave it there. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.